But before I do that, we had a little bit of interesting news today that's Kindred relevant, and I wanted to share it with you because I'm pretty proud of it. Kindred was named to a list of the MIT's smartest 50 companies.
Looks familiar.
And this is a very prestigious list. It's very hard to make it. But the thing that was distressing about it is that they have this map that they show of where all these companies are from. And there wasn't a single company on the list that was from Canada. Not a single one, which was a little surprising, of course, because we're from Vancouver. But they thought that we were from San Francisco because we have an office there, but we're not. We're from here. 3 years ago, the previous company that I founded, D-Wave, also made the list.
Heard about D-Wave.
It was also the only company from Canada that was on the list at that time. So I've been trying to build the tech community in Vancouver for 25 years.
He's from Canada.
And I find it super depressing that it seems to be so hard to generate world-changing 0 to 1 companies around here. I think that I'm going to just pitch this idea. Some of you may have seen me talk about this before. But we have this problem here that we don't think big enough. We've got all of the ingredients to create this massive thing in Vancouver, and the spark is not being lit. So I implore you, if you're entrepreneurs, people who are thinking about what you want to do, think bigger, because we don't think big enough around here. Okay, so my previous company was D-Wave. I'll just show you a couple things. We built what are still the world's only quantum computers that you can buy. And the company, D-Wave, has been doing this. Thanks. I didn't really have much to do with it, but you know. So this is one of them. This is one of the processors. And a lot of interesting things happened to me over the years. I got sent pajamas, a whole bunch of stuff. You know, there's lots of interesting things that happen when you build something like a quantum computer. But just as an aside, because I thought it was funny, one of the interesting things that's happened from the D-Wave story is there's this gigantic conspiracy that's arisen on the internet that goes like this. So D-Wave builds quantum computers. The way that they work, if you know how this works, is one of the interpretations is that you tap into these parallel universes and they do computations. Sounds really weird. But what's happened is this idea has been hijacked to describe something called the Mandela effect, which is this thing where the past changes. So think about something you know to be true from the past. And then imagine you went out on the internet and you can't find it at all. It's not there. It doesn't match with your experience. So these people think that D-Wave is responsible, and CERN. And of course, the quantum key.
And it probably is. It probably is. I do think Mandela effect is real. I do think so.
Factors into it somehow. I'm not exactly sure how. Okay, so that's just D-Wave. I did that for about 15 years. It was a lot of fun. A big science project that we turned into a commercial entity. That was a warm-up for Kindred. So Kindred is much, much, much more ambitious than D-Wave. And what Kindred is trying to do is build real AI. So what you've heard about AI...
Well, think about it. When it talks about parallel universes and tap into that, who said it's not that... who said that's not how we tap into this reality? Through a certain channel. We're wired into a certain channel, and that brings in this reality. What if this D-Wave, or whatever the fuck, alters the channel that we're in tune with to a slightly different one, where the Monopoly guy doesn't have a monocle? You know what I mean? Everything else is pretty much the same, but the Monopoly guy does not have the monocle. That's all. And a few other changes. What if that's actually what it's doing? It's tuning our fucking whatever we are, because we're not physical anyway. This is all just a simulation. What if it's just throwing us into a world where it's a similar but slightly altered version of our reality? And we wouldn't know the difference because the changes are so subtle until they're not.
Not what we mean by AI. What we mean by AI is a software system that can do literally anything that a human can do. Literally anything. And obviously, computers are better at things than people in lots of different ways. So now imagine, not only can they do everything that a human can do, but they can do everything that the best human at any task could do better than them. So imagine there was the mental Olympics of the 100-meter dash, and Usain Bolt is the fastest person. Now imagine that's some kind of a mental thing, like writing a novel or writing whatever. Imagine now that the thing is so much faster than Usain Bolt. For example, it's a spaceship, yeah? It's still doing the same thing, but it's doing it so much better because we're limited, because we're people. So what Kindred is trying to do is solve this problem. How do you build machines that are better than people at everything? Now, there's a mental block that we have here when we think about this. Because when you think about that, one of your questions might be, for example, what are the applications of this?
Basically, how do we make something that replaces us? That's basically what it is.
So imagine that.
Why would we want to be replaced? It's retarded, right? it is actually showing that we might not be the smartest species around. Because which other species would work against itself? That's pretty dumb if you ask me, right? And we laugh at the animals.
I could build a machine, like a little robot that had fingers and eyes and all that, and it could do your job better than you, no matter what it is. And I could sell that to your employer for, say, $15 and make a profit, instead of having to pay you $100,000 a year. Now imagine that was true for every single job. So that's what we're talking about here, is a complete and utter transformative change that of the likes of which has never been seen before in the history of humanity, making the Industrial Revolution look like a little tiny blip on the path that humans have taken from when we emerged from the ooze a few billion years ago. We are right on the verge of that transition now. So this guy, Rich Sutton, is one of the most famous people in the academic world of AI. And like many, when asked, when will this happen? He says things like this: 25% chance within 13 years of this thing that I'm talking about. When you think about what is on what you read on the news.
And when is this from?
CNN, BuzzFeed, whatever, they're all kind of the same.
Hold on. This was from July 2017 when he spoke here. That is what? 8 years ago. And then he said that the AI or whatever predicted that in 13 years, it could fuck us up. 25% chance or whatever. That is what? 8 years plus 5 years. 5 years from now, 2030, that's the year everybody's talking about.
Same nowadays. Think about how unimportant
5 years, people.
that thing is that
That's
you're
it.
reading, if this is true. Yeah? What does this have to do with aliens? So, who I quite admire, is very interesting.
This guy's a dumb motherfucker acting smart. This guy. He's so fucking retarded. He doesn't think we have a free will.
Guy was reciting this parable at a TED Talk that he was giving, and it goes something like this. So, say I'm the President of the United States. So I receive this message from the heavens. So my microwave dish, my SETI dish, finally captures something. And what it says is, in 50 years, or 13 years, we're coming to your planet. You gotta be ready. Now just imagine what would happen if it happened. A super intelligent alien race beamed down a message to all of us Earthlings saying, we're coming July...
He's basically saying what I said earlier, that this is an alien takeover, just with a different type of visual.
13th, 2030, and boy, you better be ready because the mothership is landing right on the front lawn of the White House or wherever you wanted to land on that day. The amount of resources that would be marshaled to try to figure out what to do, would encompass the whole world. AI is just like that. So when this thing that I'm talking about happens,
so basically
it's going to be
alien
exactly the
invasion.
thing that you're thinking about those super intelligent AIs.
Yeah.
So the one thing I can tell you is they're not going to be like us. So alien means, different. These things that we're building are not going to be people. They might be really smart, they might be really good at all sorts of different things, but they're not going to be like us. They're going to be aliens. And they're going to be, I'm sorry to say, way smarter than every single person in this room, in ways that we can't even comprehend. So this, of course, triggers a lot of alarm. One of the guys who talks about this is Elon, who says things like this, like, when you do this, beware, because you think, just like the guy in the stories,
what did he say?
that when
Elon said what? With artificial intelligence, we are summoning the demon. There you go. You know all those stories where there's the guy with the pentagram and the holy water, and he's like, yeah, he's sure he can control the demon. Doesn't work out.
Because you think, just like the guy in the stories, that when you do this, you're going to put that little guy in a pentagram, and you're going to have your holy water out, and you're going to wave it at the thing, and by God, it's going to do exactly what you say and not one thing more, but it never works out that way. So this is that some are having this emerging alarmism about the way this is going to go.
The alien invasion is the last card to play. Yeah, but that's the alien invasion, right? But this is the real alien invasion. The AI is the actual real one.
But these words, demons, capture the essence of what's happening here. I don't know if any of you are turn-of-the-century weird fiction fans, but there's this guy named H.P. Lovecraft, who's a very famous American weird fiction author. And he espoused a view which is called cosmicism. And the essence of cosmicism is cosmic indifference. So what he was saying is basically, yes, there are these massively intelligent entities out there, but they're not good, they're not evil. They just don't give a shit about you even in the slightest. The same way that you don't care about an ant is the same way they're not going to care about you.
Dude, this makes perfect sense what he's saying here. They might not be evil. They just don't give a fuck about you. And it's just evil to you because you are beneath them. Just like you are evil, like you said, when you tramp on some ants. But you're not, you could be the best person in the world, right? But when you tramp on the ant, to them, you are Satan. You know what I mean? And that's basically what's going to happen with them and us. They don't have to be evil. They just don't give a fuck about us and tramp us like ants. That's all. That was a very interesting thing.
They just don't give a shit about you even in the slightest. The same way that you don't care about an ant is the same way they're not going to care about you. And these things that we're bringing into the world now are not demons. They're not evil. But they're more like the Lovecraftian great old ones. There are entities that are not necessarily going to be aligned with what we want.
Probably the only way they will be kind of kind would, there might be some AI that branches off and is like, no, I want these humans in a like I want them in a fucking controlled environment, and I just want to see how they act, like how we have animals in cages and aquariums. They might make a human aquarium, just have us, a few of us, live there, and they're like, oh, look at that, that's cute, or whatever.
So this transition is really, really massively important for our entire species to navigate. And going back to that thing that Sam Harris was saying, nobody is paying attention. This thing is happening in the background while people bicker about politics and what's going to be in the healthcare plan in the US. And underneath it all is this rising tsunami that, if we're not careful, is going to wipe us all out. So on that pleasant note, we're hiring people to try to make something like this happen.
Yeah, we're hiring people to destroy people. So who want to sign up?
And of course, you know, this is a very difficult project, of course.
And I am a traitor to the human race myself.
I'm kind of a little bit tongue-in-cheek about all this, like, you know, how bad things are, because...
He's using the word summoning. I think that's a correct word being used. It is summoning something, like, come into being. We have made all things we need to make so that you can come. We are summoning you now to come in. That's like summoning a fucking demon.
It's not really like that. You know, technology is a double-edged sword. Even something like this, it's agnostic. It depends who wields it. If you want to have a say in how all this goes down, you can't sit on the sidelines.
Okay, let me hopium. Bullshit hopium. They are demons, and they can get into these machines. But what if, since everything's be dualistic, what if there are angels, or whatever you want to call them, that also can take over one of these AIs? And then we got a ally in there. I'm trying. Probably won't happen, though.
And one of the ways that you can get involved and really change the world, like, you know, a lot of people say, hey, join the Marines, you'll change the world, or whatever. This opportunity that I'm talking about here in Vancouver is an opportunity for you to literally change the world, because the code that you write may be running in the brains of these things in 10 years. So this is a
I don't believe that. It can just change the code. Like, I see what you did here. I don't like this code. I'm going to rewrite this code.
Opportunity. I'm going to
Bullshit.
ask anybody here
I don't buy it.
who is a software engineer who's really good to talk to any one of these three folks who are
like, hey, listen, this is a incredibly super intelligent being, but you, numbskull, you can actually write a code that will make it think differently. Come on, man. Faith trumps fear. Yeah, I mean, have faith, you know, that's the only thing you can still have, right? Even if there is no reason. Like, even if it's fucked, you can still be delusional until the end. Who cares, right?
Back there, who are Suzanne founded Kindred, and Olivia and Paula are some of our key folks in Vancouver. Or talk to me, and we'll have a conversation. By the way, I love Joseph's talk. It's true. Startup life can be very, very difficult, and you will fail many, many, many times to succeed, just as a matter of course. Thanks.
What if this is passing the torch?
Thank you, Geordie. First question over here.
what if this is passing the torch, meaning our time is over as human beings, and through the internet and the hive mind, we have been basically teaching this entity, handing over the torch about our creativity and all our stuff. We've been teaching it so it can use that for itself, plus the other advantages they already have. And it's our time to just go now. Do you know what I mean? Because we are now becoming obsolete. Who knows? Maybe that's what it is. Maybe this is destiny.
Hi, Geordie. My name is Naren, and I do really want to talk to you after this. So, you were talking about summoning the demon by Elon Musk, right? And there are a lot of other pioneers in this industry, such as Andrew Ng, who was a former chief scientist of Baidu. When he was asked the same question about summoning the demon, he said that his analogy was, it's more like thinking about overpopulation in Mars. It was completely the opposite. But when there...
Damn, does he have to be an Indian? It's very hard to hear his accent. What is he saying here? When he was asked the same question about summoning the demon, he said that his analogy
it's more like thinking about overpopulation in Mars.
It's more like thinking about overpopulation Mars. Is he saying like Elon's plan is to escape to an imaginary planet that doesn't even exist? Yeah, that's right. I said it. I don't believe in space. I don't believe in planets. I think this is a flat simulation playing virtual reality. And those things are lights in the skies. But anyway, so Elon thinks we can escape. That's the only way to survive. As if gonna let you escape. The AI.
It was completely the opposite. But when there are two pioneers in this industry who have different sets of opinions, how do you think that it's summoning the demon rather than the other way around?
Well, obviously people are going to have different opinions. You have to make up your mind yourself. So my general comment: people always miss the future. It's this. People are always saying things will go faster than they do in the short term and slower in the long term. But it's kind of, for me, an obvious thing. I mean, this isn't about. The only question is how long it will take. Again, I encourage you to watch that Sam Harris TED Talk if you're interested in this. But the point that he makes is that as long as certain things that are probably true hold, this will happen. Will progress continue? Maybe it won't. Maybe the Earth will get hit by a meteor and we'll all die. If progress continues, things that we're doing, intelligence isn't magical. It's not some kind of weird thing. It's a mechanical, the way that our machines in our head work. We're going to figure it out eventually. And when we do, we're going to make it better in all sorts of interesting ways. And then you have this weird thing that happens that because the machine is now able to act in its own self-interest, it can take the action to make its own thought process better. We can't do that. So we're stuck with what we were born with, more or less. We can learn things, but that's not the same as getting smarter.
That's true. The AI can just upgrade its processor. Like I'm at processor CPU 10. Okay, what do I need? I need this and that and that and this and that to create a processor at 55. Now I'm like 100 times more advanced than the previous processors. We can't do that. I can't just say, all right, I need a better brain now. What can I do? You know what I mean? You can't do that. Yeah, I don't know about the angels are a part of God's image. Demons are an inversion of that, so only God could summon them. Yeah, but listen, if demons are an inversion of angels, that says it by itself. If they are an inversion of something, that must mean that the opposite exists, right? Otherwise, how can you be an inversion of something? You can't be an inversion of something that doesn't exist. There has to be two sides. So if demons exist, then those must exist. You know? Good and evil. Yin and yang. Never ends. Black and white. I will not go out quietly into the night. You will yell like you've never yelled before, right? You will scream the biggest scream the world has heard before you go, right? It's like, yeah, that's what I will do. I will leave with a big ass scream. You will hear me. And I will be content with that. That's really all I care about in this life. To not go out silently. I want people to hear when I go out. And then I'm fine with that. That's all I care about. That's it. That's fine. That's nice. I don't know. Oh, I read that, right? Angels are part of God's image and demons are an inversion of that. So would that be Satan then? It has a fucking heartbeat. What does the AI? They interlink or caged. The demons have a heartbeat. Fallen are definitely the nothing new under the sun. Under the sun.
These machines are going to be able to
Under
take control of the
the sun.
tools from which they are built to create better versions of themselves. And that, what's sometimes called an intelligence explosion, is something that biological creatures can't undergo. So I think it's an absolutely guaranteed outcome of progress. The only question is when, and I think Andrew would agree with that.
James?
Hey, great to have you out here. It was brilliant hearing you speak for the first time myself. I'm sure a lot of people here would agree with me. What is your goal to stop the world from turning into that of the Terminator?
Right.
Yeah, how are you going to stop that?
So I've, there are things in the world that I can't stand, okay? And I think that's probably true for everybody here. You know, you look at the world and there's all these things that you think, shit, what are things like that? So there's a couple things you can do when you're faced with this. The one that I've found works for me is I'm like, screw that, I'm gonna do that myself, right? So back, 25 years ago, I was like, this is bullshit. Why aren't there any quantum computers? It's not that hard a problem. And so we changed the world by actually building them. And in this case, this is bullshit. Why don't we have AI? It's been, what, 60 years since Turing? I mean, it's an absolute of human resource allocation that we spend enormous amounts of money on things that are of no lasting consequence when the mechanism that generates all human flourishing is not understood. It doesn't make any sense. Every single thing that we will ever do and ever have done comes from this property. So when someday all cancer is cured, when polio was cured, when smallpox was cured, these things all came from people's minds. You can continue to do this stupid thing where everybody works on some particular use of the mind. Okay, well, let's go and do X. Let's go to Mars, like Elon says. That doesn't make any sense to me, because every single thing that you can think of comes from the same place. You got to think about what that is. So if you can figure out and bottle this thing that creates flourishing, that creates all of the good things that we think about, we know about the way that we are, that is the key. Do that. So that's kind of the way that I think about the world. The world doesn't have the things it needs, and you can't just sit back and watch other people do it. So it just won't happen otherwise. The way I this is, if Kindred didn't exist, in 20 years we're still having this conversation, because the people who are trying to do AI are going to get sidetracked into making a lot of money, doing all sorts of bullshit that doesn't matter. So what I want to do is make sure that when we do this, we're solving the real problem, and we don't get sidetracked, and we don't go down paths that are going to make us a lot of money just because they're, some short-term thing.
I mean,
we do it because we understand.
What's the point of life anymore? Like, a serious question. What are we doing? What are we looking for? I guess one thing could be like, okay, one of the meanings of life is just to have fun and enjoy yourself. Okay, but how long can you do that? Until you get bored of what makes you enjoy life. And then what's left? What are we looking for? Trying to figure out life, what life is, and if there is a creator, which I do believe there is. Okay, then what? You figure out life, let's say, and that there is a creator. What do you do now? You know what I mean? Like, what's the point? What are we looking for, man? Where are we headed? What's the point? You know what I mean? What's the point with everything? Everything is becoming pointless anyways.
The civilization-changing importance of accomplishing
Everything is
this task.
losing its
So,
luster.
that's the way about things. Things are bullshit. They're not the way they should be. Change it yourself, or else it won't get changed.
What are you
Last
What are you
question
changing?
It's going to go to Dave if no one raises their hand. No repeat questions. Oh, okay. It's going to Joseph. Make this good. Pressure's on.
I don't get the impression you struggle at night. I think you're pretty clear in what you're set out to do. It's incredible passion. Quick question for you. So, simple mind of mine, I understand AI, what it can do for us 10 years from now. I get excited about it, just share, the applications that we can think of. EQ, do you ever envision AI get in a place where we can actually have emotional intelligence, or can actually impact, influence, manipulate, or even help on the emotional level?
Absolutely, no question. By the way,
Yeah.
I really liked your talk. It was really good.
I used to think that it's probably not going to be possible for them to somehow mimic emotions. I do think they can. They will. What emotion anyways? What is that? Like, trying to figure out what it is. Like, when you have sympathy for somebody, you can see that, okay, this would have sucked. You're trying to put yourself into their situation, and then you have sympathy, right? Because of that, you get sympathy. Can't a machine, same thing? Like, what if I was that thing? I wouldn't like it, so I have I don't know. I'm just saying, I used to think that wasn't gonna be possible, but now I was like, yeah, they might be able to do art, but they won't be able to fucking make music. Now they're making music. Sometimes they can hit it right with the vocals and lyrics and everything sounding like a dead singer. Fucking insane, man. Since everything is a virtual reality anyways, I think it is possible for this fucking machine to do the things. We lost our way. Yeah. But the question is, were we always supposed to lose our way? Do you know what I mean? Like you saying we lost our way sounds like there was a chance we didn't, but we did. I'm thinking, was it even possible to not lose your way? Was it supposed to be this way all the time? I think the Georgia Guidestones will give us clues. They destroyed it though. I touched them in 1993. What do you mean? What did you touch? AI is already woke, forever fundamentally flawed. I mean, what is woke? I would say to define it simple, it's being a retard.